Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today, we have got Kim and Jeremy from Red Tulip Designs out of El Reno, Oklahoma. What's going on, guys?
Trying to stay cool.
Yeah, trying to stay out of the heat.
I know we were kind of chatting a little bit beforehand. Probably should have been recording most of that, but that's kind of how this monster goes. Let's, you guys are specifically cabinet refinishers. Am I correct? You guys don't do much architectural painting anymore.
No, every once in a while we'll do a little bit of trim, but most of the time we're just focused on cabinetry.
Awesome. Well, let's just start like I like to start most of the episodes. How did you guys get into cabinet finishing? What were you guys doing before? How did that progress over into Red Tulip? Let's start there.
We started in furniture finishing. I was trying to find a way to bring in some extra income and found these groups on Facebook that were finishing furniture and staging furniture and making decent money off of it. And I was like, well, I'm kind of bored. I want to create again. I hadn't been doing any design or painting or anything for a long time. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go buy some furniture and I'm going to paint it and I'm going to list it for sale. And so we had $100 left over from a tax return, and I found 3 pieces of furniture, went and bought some paint and got them done. And Jeremy was like, well, how much are you going to list them for? I was like, well, they told me to list this one here for $450. And he was like, you're not going to get that. You might get 200 out of it. I was like, no, I'm going to list it for $450. And then he was like, well, what about this other one here? I was like, they said to list that one for $495. And again, he was like, we're not going to get that. And I was like, just trust me. Let's see if it works. It took about a month, but sold the one corner cabinet for $450 and shipped it to Illinois. And then the curved glass cabinet I did, sold that one for $495. And the lady came from Arkansas and picked it up.
And you're talking, you paid $100 for all 3 pieces.
Yep. Plus paint.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
And so and then the third piece was another corner cabinet. We actually kept that one. So, took some money from those 2 sales, bought more furniture, fixed those up. Jeremy would do the repairs on them, cause they'd have broken pieces on them or needed new hardware or something on it. So we'd fix them up and get them pretty and list them for sale and sit there in our house. We had one small area where we could stage the furniture, and we had wood that we had painted white with a fake piece of trim, and we're sitting there wedged in between our island and our refrigerator taking pictures of these pieces and editing the photos so it looks good and listing them and shipping them. And for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, we were doing that. We were just selling, finishing furniture and selling it, and it was extra money to where we could go on a vacation if we wanted to, or pay for something we needed and not struggle as much. And then we started getting clients asking, well, can you paint my cabinets? And I was like, no, we're not touching cabinets. That's too much work. I was working a full-time job at the time also. So, kept getting asked and kept saying no. Well, then I started hating my day job and, wanted to get out of there. Started looking for another place. I went to a few interviews. I actually walked out of 2 interviews, like not even 10 minutes in. I was like, I can't work here. You all don't fit what I want. And I would just walk out. And one day I told Jeremy, I was like, either we go full time with the business and we try that, or we need to move or something. I was like, I can't work with somebody else anymore. I can't work for somebody anymore. And so we went to SCORE to ask for help from a mentor so we could try and figure out, how are we going to get this business going full time. And he had us run the numbers on a furniture refinishing business, opening a store like boutique and selling paint and offering classes and teaching people how to finish their furniture and stuff. And we realized that we would not make any money within the first 2 years. And so we were like, we can't do this. We don't have the funds to do this, to survive for 2 years. So he was like, well, what else can you do besides furniture? And Jeremy was like, well, what about cabinet painting? We keep getting asked about cabinet painting. And I'm like, okay, let's check it out. So we ran the numbers. We did some hypothetical kitchens. We took our own kitchen and quoted it. And we looked at it and we were like, okay, we can survive on this with low overhead. And
yeah, we figured if we could do just one kitchen a month, we would be enough to pay our bills and just survive and do okay on our own without, going crazy or anything. And if we got more than one kitchen a month, that we would have extra money left over for, spending money, just to do whatever we wanted with.
So we did about 6 months of research on that, getting everything ready. We took all the money we had in the furniture refinishing and bought tools for cabinet painting. Tested a bunch of products. Was starting to get a little bothered by it because we couldn't find anything in Oklahoma that we wanted to use that would hold up the way we wanted. And I actually started talking to Harvey at Timberlane, and he was like, well, hey, we've got this product from Renner in. Do you want to give it a try? And so we tried it out and we were like, this is it. This is what we've been looking for. So we got everything ready. We posted some ads on Facebook, landed a job about a month after. And because I told Jeremy, I was like, well, I'm not going to quit my job until we land a job. So we landed a really large job. Yeah, it kicked our rears. I went to my boss the day after signing on it and collecting the deposit. And I was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And she goes, what? And I was like, well, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. And she goes, well, who are you going to go work for? I was like, well, I'm going to go work for myself. I'm going self-employed. And she was like, well, that's really risky. You don't really want to do that. And I was like, I honestly would rather go be self-employed and fall on my rear and fail than work another day with you. And so we went. I had to pump myself up. I was right before I walked in, I was listening to Eminem's Lose Yourself on the radio, just trying to pump myself up because I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is crazy. I'm so stupid. So we did that job. That was the end of 2019. And then we took the rest of 2019 off to recoup from that job because
it was right at the end of November.
November is when we did that job. We took December off, just kind of marketing and trying to do consultations. We landed a few jobs for the beginning of the year, and then COVID hit. All the jobs that we had lined up canceled except for one. And so we went into survival mode. We're used to it. We've done it before. So we went into survival mode and we survived, trying to just do what we could through 2019. And then by the end of 2019, we had some stuff in place. We had taken some marketing classes, and all of a sudden, bam, we were booked 6 months out. And it was just nonstop all through 2021, 2022, then 2023 started kind of ups and downs. And then this year's been kind of,
it's been from a lot of the painters that I've talked to, 23 was like, I like to say it was on Viagra the first 6 months, and then it didn't get a refill the last 6 months. It was like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
23, I think everybody was down in 23. And then 24, this has been a weird year. Election years are always the weirdest years to try and run a business.
Well, last year we hired, at end of 2022, we hired 2 people. We ended up firing one. And then we've had one employee, and honestly, we ended up letting her go. It was just getting to be too much. It was struggling. So we were like, you know what, let's take a step back and regroup and go forward from there.
Yeah, take some of the lessons that we've learned over the last year of having an employee and, do a few things differently going forward with the new, when we hire again, so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of one of those deals. That's the great thing about entrepreneurship. I always tell people is you're not going to get it right. I mean, what is it? Gary V, he does that interview that says, how do you know you're hiring the right person? And he's like, you don't just get good at firing, because you're going to go through employees. It's going to happen. You're going to learn lessons every time you turn around. I can't tell you how many guys that we were growing and I'd hire a guy and he'd be there 2 days, and Friday at noon, they'd get his paycheck and that son of a bitch was gone. Never came back after lunch. It was like, what just happened? He got paid, and I guess he figured he'd get another job when he runs out of that check. It was the weirdest thing. But so that still is one of the things that baffles me as a business owner, is how someone can just, oh, I got paid. All right, I'm going to the bar. See ya. What about
it's amazing.
So I've always been curious. Tell me about Red Tulip, how we came up with the name Red Tulip, what you guys are offering now, and then kind of what you're looking at for the rest of 24 as far as finishing and marketing and stuff.
So when we were doing the furniture staging, at first it was just, we were selling it under my name. And then one of my mentors in the furniture refinishing, she was like, hey, you might consider, getting an LLC and setting up a business name and kind of going from there. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And so Jeremy and I were going back and forth on names, and we were like, well, what should we name it? And when I was doing the staging, we didn't have a whole lot of money. And so they were like, you need to have flowers in your pictures. Well, all I had was these fake red tulips that we would put in all the pictures. Well, then when we started getting more money in to actually buy props and stuff, people were like, well, where's your red tulips? And I was like, well, I got money, so I bought new flowers. And they were like, but you always have red tulips. And so Jeremy was like, well, why don't we name it Red Tulip? Because everybody's always like, oh, it's the girl with the red tulips. And so we named it Red Tulip Designs, because I figured down the road, I didn't want to just do cabinet finishing. I wanted other aspects of the design in our field. So,
well, you also went to school for interior design.
Yeah, I went to school for interior design. So down the road, I want to offer full remodels. So it's something I've been slowly working on.
I love it, like origin stories on how people come up with your names, because to you, that was all you had. I mean, but very quickly that becomes who you are as far as like how people recognize your stuff. Oh, it's the Red Tulips. Oh yeah, I know who that girl is. That's pretty awesome. What about you, Jeremy? Like, I mean, what were you doing prior to kicking off the business?
Well, I was working in the oil field, and one day Kim called me up, and she's like, because I was up in Dodge City, Kansas, and she's like, look, you've been gone a little while, and while you're gone, the kids are not the same. It's just not the same without you here, and we'd really like it if you just came home. So I said, okay. So I went to my boss and let him know, hey, I'm getting out of here. I'm quitting. I'm going home. And so I quit, and I went home to be a stay-at-home dad. And so I was a stay-at-home dad while she was working at the hospital. And so with the furniture stuff during the daytime, I was doing all the woodworking repairs and, making sure everything was structurally sound, and which I really got a lot of enjoyment out of that too, because I like using like hand tools, woodworking hand tools, hand planes, and hand saws, and I really was finding a lot of enjoyment out of that. And so I would do that. And of course, she had the background in paint, because when I was in the Air Force, she was working in paint back then, and so I let her do all the painting and just making it look pretty. And she would do all kinds of really pretty finishes and blending and just all kinds of stuff that I don't know how to do still. So I just let her do all of that. And so like, that was kind of one of the things, is that I came into it with not a lot of experience in paint. She had all the experience in paint. But once we decided that we were going to start, with the furniture, there were a couple of things that, like, when it came to doing we would replace a veneer on a top of, like a dresser or something like that. And then we'd have to clear coat it. Well, I would normally spray that out with like a Harbor Freight cup gun or something like that. And so that's where I first started learning how to spray. And then when it came time to decide that we were going to start getting into cabinets, it was like, okay, well, who's going to do the spraying? And I asked her, it's like, do you want to do it or do you want me to do it? Because whoever does it, because one of us has got to be in there spraying it first when we first start with this. And she's like, well, why don't you do it? And I said, okay. So I jumped in there and I started learning how to spray. And it was kind of really self-taught and watching a lot of YouTube videos. And which back then Shane Woods was, he was on Facebook Live all the time and was doing his spraying with the Apollo. And so I was watching a lot of him and would talk to him a lot and ask him questions and pick his brain. And then we started getting in the Facebook groups all the time. And there were a lot of really knowledgeable people on there that were willing to give me advice and help me out. And I would always try to ask reasonably intelligent questions and not just stupid stuff that, I could look up for 5 seconds. So I would spend a lot of time looking up things if I didn't know the answer. And it was only when I couldn't find the answer that I would reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you help me out here? So, and so once we started getting into that, people seeing us in the Facebook groups all the time. And then, I started getting smart enough to understand how to answer some of these basic questions. And me and Kim would answer people's questions and, kind of just kept at it. And then eventually they asked us to be moderators because we were constantly being active in the groups and asked us to help moderate. And so we said yes to that. And that was also a great thing too, because then, we started talking to the other moderators more often. And of course, surround yourself with a bunch of really smart people, and especially when you're the dumb one in the room, you're only going to get smarter. You're not likely to bring them down, at least not too much, So, and so we, just like, and I'm the type of person too that, like, she always jokes that I get obsessive about things. And that's kind of what I did is I just put the blinders on and just deep dive into it, and the more I got into it, the more I realized that I'm a coatings nerd and I love coating science and all the things that make the coatings tick and learning about them and using them. And so, yeah. And it's like, if I want to be a good finisher, I also need to understand the coatings and how they work. And, and a little bit of the science behind them. I'm not a scientist, but I definitely try to understand as much of it as I can. So
that's what I've learned from being here is from just jumping to the manufacturing side is there is a good amount across the industry, whether it's raw materials, paint manufacturing, lab guys and guys that make paint don't have college degrees. They're self-taught in the lab. I mean, it's a great industry to grow in. I mean, when I went to the manufacturing side and I was helping them make paint one day just to learn it, I was like, hey, I want to see what this shit's all about. So I got in there, and after a week of making paint, I was like, dude, if I ever go back to myself painting, I'm ready to mess some shit up. I know enough now to be moderately dangerous, stuff that you don't think how to make paint work better or with solvents or just even what's in paint. You're just like controlled incompatibility and all that stuff. I was just like, oh man, this is not good. But the geeking out on the science side of it, man, it's a lot of fun when you learn that almost every water-based paint, I mean, when I say almost, like 99% of water-based paints have silicone in them. Makes you go, what? We're always told no silicone. Like, that's bad. But it's in paint. And you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. Now you're like, okay. Yeah, that one blew my mind. That's one of the ones I'm just like, and I had a guy put it to me one time that's like, well, a lot of time the stuff that's in paint, especially water-based paint, does not like each other. They hate each other. They're solvents and chemicals that you would never blend, but you just put them in a tank and you just blend them. And you're like, listen, you sons of bitches, you're going to get along and you're going to get along good. And until you do, I'm just going to sit here and just grind the crap out of you. And eventually you're going to listen and do what I tell you to do. And I'm like, all right, so this is how we make paint. We just make stuff do whatever we want it. I can get behind this.
I was going to say, it's been 20 plus years since I was in paint stuff. I worked for Home Depot back when they trained people properly. And they were teaching me how, what was in the paint, what was in the tints, and I thought it was funny when one of the guys was like, hey, look, titanium dioxide. And he shows me the can with titanium dioxide. And then he shows me a package of powdered donuts and he goes, look, titanium dioxide. And I was like, oh.
I mean, so a lot of people use with water-based propylene glycol is a great reducer for water-based paints, a water-soluble reducer and retardant. It is also in a crap ton of food, like all those Beyond Meat fake burgers and stuff like that. They put it in almost all that stuff to make it juicy. You look on the back and you're like, propylene glycol. Crap, I put that in paint.
It's also RV antifreeze, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, because it's what does they call it? It's GROS, as generally recognized as safe, is what they call propylene glycol. It's generally recognized as safe for consumption. Like it won't hurt you to eat if you drink a little bit, like normal antifreeze. How back in the day you didn't like stray animals, you just give them some antifreeze.
Good way to unalive yourself.
Exactly. I like that. Good way to unalive yourself. Now with the propylene glycol, yeah, you can use it in RVs, boats, but food, because it's generally recognized as safe. I'm like, just not sure I'm good with something generally recognized as safe going inside my body, but
except for the one time you're using it.
Exactly. So like social media, let's hit on that a little bit. Like you guys have done really good in social media as far as like marketing and how you guys are out there. How did you guys, for the noobs out there and people that are just kind of getting into the social media aspect, what classes did you take? How did you guys come up with your social media strategy, both for marketing and for just general ads that you guys run?
So the lady, Rebecca, that ran the furniture staging group that I was part of, she started offering, marketing boot camps, Facebook boot camp, Instagram boot camp, things like that. And so I'd pay the money to go through the month-long course and learn what I could on it, and would take that information and implement it on our business. Figured if you have a business that's getting in front of people enough times, eventually it's going to stick and they're going to be like, oh, hey, I'm interested in you. And so I started just posting. I would post pictures. I would post videos. I've learned over the years that a lot of our followers, they love the funny memes and stuff like that. So I'll post something funny to get a reaction. Everybody was into Bridgerton a few weeks ago because of the new season. And I had seen National Parks had posted a funny thing about going out into the parks and keeping hydrated and to stay away from the buffalo, but they did it in Lady Whistledown's voice for it, for the writing. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And so I went to Chat GPT and I was like, hey, write out a thing about how to find a cabinet refinisher in your area, but use Lady Whistledown for it. And so it wrote out this cute little thing talking about how to find a cabinet refinisher. And so I posted that with a fancy kitchen and got a lot of laughs out of that. And people love seeing the videos. I've been doing TikTok a little bit. Haven't really gotten in front of clients. I think TikTok's honestly more of a bragging rights kind of thing, but I'll post before and afters on there.
I can't get it. I'm like, I've tried TikTok. I don't know what it is. It makes me feel really old, I guess.
I was going to say, I think the thing with TikTok for us is that, and it might work for certain markets, but I think our ideal client is just not hanging out on TikTok.
No.
I think it's a younger generation that's hanging out on TikTok, whereas our ideal client is someone that's, over 40 years old and typically 50 plus, honestly, that has disposable income. And that age group is just not really hanging out on TikTok all the time. And so that's not where our ideal client is. And I think when it comes to marketing, that's probably one of the big things to do is being consistent, like just posting stuff, at least, try to post it once a day if you can, or at least once a week at a bare minimum, right? To be consistent with your posting. And then it helps to be able to post if you have a target client in mind. So if you're going to market, you need to know who you're marketing to. And it helps to go through a scenario and go, okay, well, let's look at who is my ideal client? Make an avatar of what your ideal client looks like. Draw them up in your mind, write it down, try to sketch out, well, what's the ideal client look like for me? What are their major interests? What are their dislikes? What are their likes? Where would they live? What is their typical income range? And go through all of these things and see if what you're drawing up as your ideal client actually works out great. And then once you do that, and then you can start posting stuff consistently, because people like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? And
so we've gotten, a lot of our clients, I've even this year, a lot of our clients that we've booked this year, they've been following us for years, and they're like, you're always posting, you're always explaining. And that's one thing I always tell our clients. We like an informed client. We want our client to know what they're paying for and know that they're getting their money's worth. Probably more than their money's worth, honestly, but we want them to, like Jeremy said, like, know and trust us. And so we post frequently. I've been slacking a little bit these past couple of months just because of everything going on, but I've been trying to keep up with the posting, and they love the fact that I'll show a video of Jeremy spraying, or that I'll have a video of us sanding, or there's pictures of the project going on. And then our clients, they're tagging their friends on it, and they're like, oh, look, here's our kitchen. And so now their friends are watching it and seeing what the progress is on it. And but the thing with marketing is you have to be consistent with it. If you look at, as a business owner, you go and you look up competitors in your area and see how often they're actually posting. They're not really posting much at all. And if they are, it's usually canned stuff from the franchises. It's not authentic.
No, I think the authenticity, is huge.
Yeah. And then it's just posting wherever you can. Keep Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I've been trying to do more YouTube lately. Pinterest. People love Pinterest. And then there's been I've been seeing local groups have been creating their own local, almost local Facebooks, I guess you could say, where you have to be in that area. You can only be in that area. You can't be outside from another state, almost like next door, I guess you would say. And you can bring your business on there to where you can post and talk to people. And the clients like that more because they see that you're a local family-owned business and they feel more safe working with you.
Yeah. Have you guys listened to Olympian? Ridian's a good buddy of mine. And he's got a podcast out called the Dirty Painter Podcast.
I have not heard that one. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, look it up. He's really good. He's out in Florida now. He's from Michigan. Great guy. Him and his brother run this podcast, and they've got an episode where they talk to, which in today's age, you forget about it. But, Jeremy, you kind of hit on it, talking about your clientele. And, you've got Gen X, which is kind of like my group right now, but there's still, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Steve, another buddy of mine, about the boomers. The boomers have all the money right now. And the boomers are that age to where they're transitioning from home ownership to retirement communities because their Gen X kids don't really want to take care. That's a whole nother issue, but like that, the boomers, like something, he goes through this, starts talking about statistics. He's like, social media marketing, he preaches social media marketing. He loves it. He's got some systems that are life-changing as far as business goes, but you can't forget about the non-social media users. And 50% of boomers don't get on social media, don't have a Facebook page, or if they do, they haven't been on it in 10 years. So, how important social media marketing is, but then how important word of mouth marketing is, because that's where you're going to get a lot of the people in that boomer generation and older that are transitioning out of home ownership and want to get the most out of their house. So they want to update it. You've got to do yard signs. You've got to do word of mouth. You've got to do, best of, some of those guys read the best of the local neighborhood stuff, all that stuff plays into it. It's not just social media. We've got to, he does a whole episode on it. And I was like, man, that's just, you forget about it, but that is really important.
Yeah. You hit on the best of, we actually, what was it? The best of the 405 magazine for Oklahoma. We actually won the best of the 405 this year for finishing. So
for home improvement. Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats, man. That's awesome. Yeah. You guys need to be plastering that all over social media.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, we do. The other things too, besides social media is Google is a huge thing right now. And if you're not on Google, then let's say Facebook crashes and goes down and it doesn't come back up. Now what? So, we've been working a lot this year on Google and getting that. And then we've also been doing the small stuff. We've got yard signs. We finally got our van wrapped. It is a nightmare to find a company to wrap your van, by the way. I went to like 5 different companies trying to get quotes just to get a quote, and nobody would call me back. And
my father-in-law, when I started, he started mentoring me to take over the business, and I bought it from him. His key advice, and he had 30 years in this business in painting: you return phone calls and do what you say you're going to do. You can do those 2 things. You're already doing more than 75% of painters that are out there, and you will have more business than you know what to do with. And I feel like the painting business, we've gradually been working on getting it to be a respected trade. That I agree. I feel like a lot of the wrapping stickers has become like the new disrespected painter trade. When those guys are busy, they don't call you back. They're like, I've got like 6 cars to do. I'll call you back when I'm slow. And you're like, no, that's not how you run a business. But yeah, I've noticed that in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we try our best to answer as quickly as possible. If I don't answer the phone right then, I try and call them back as quickly as I can. And we schedule appointments. I'm like, okay, we're going to be there at noon. I call an hour beforehand to make sure that time's still good for them. Our messaging system sends them messages to give them updates. And then we have a system in place to where they can reach me, and it's going to send me 4 different messages to let me know, hey, this client's trying to reach you. You need to call them, or you need to respond back to them. And that's one thing that, a lot of our clients, I'll ask them, well, what's the main reason why you booked with us? Well, it's because you actually returned my call. You actually responded to me. You actually got me the price right then and there instead of waiting 4 days. You actually scheduled a time when you're going to be there. We show up at or around 8 a.m. every day. We usually leave around 4 or 5 every day. They know how everything is going to go, and they know that we're going to have things done on time, and they love it. They love the fact that we're treating them and their homes and their personal time with respect. So
that's huge. And so many people don't do it, is what's something that simple. It doesn't cost you anything to do that.
Really, that should just be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But
100%. I agree.
We had a client a few years ago. She was trying to get new cabinets. She wanted new cabinets, and she contacted 4 different companies, and nobody responded to her. And one company told her, your kitchen's not big enough for me to do anything with, so I don't want to take the job. It was a small kitchen. It was, I think, 11 doors altogether in there?
Yeah, it was pretty small.
she happened to see our car driving around with our logo on it here in town. And so she called, and I was like, okay, well, scheduled the appointment, told her what time we'd be there. We get there and she goes, you showed up. And I'm like, well, yeah, we did show up. We talked to her about doing a reface on her kitchen instead of doing new cabinets. So we did new doors and new drawer faces and some updates with like her Lazy Susan and stuff, and gave her a price right then and there. And she goes, you've got a price and everything right here, right now? I'm like, yeah. I was like, here's when we can start the job. It's going to take 3 weeks to order the doors. So we'll need to do a measurement. We'll need to get stuff ordered, and then we can start on this date. And we walked out with a check because she was like, you're the only ones that actually acted like you even wanted my business.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, it's just the simple things that have completely gone to the wayside in today's society are mind-boggling.
Ironically, that client actually used to work at the Gemini plant here in El Reno.
Yeah.
Well, that's a interesting
we
twist.
didn't get Gemini products on that one either. Nothing against him, but we just didn't use it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's not wasn't too upset about that.
No,
she actually referred us out to somebody here in town the other day. So,
I mean, to me, what I would always shoot for is that, I mean, you can't get any better lead than that right there. You get a referral lead, man, those are golden. I mean, it's hard to mess those up if you just do the basics. Like you said, Jeremy, just do what you said you're going to do and you'll get those jobs. And it didn't cost you anything.
One other thing Jeremy's been doing lately, and I actually like it, I've started doing it too. We'll talk with the clients. We're just sitting there talking with them as we're working, and Jeremy will ask them, because a lot of our clients are business owners too, and he'll ask them, what is one piece of advice from a business owner to another business owner? What can you tell us as a piece of advice? And some of the things we've heard from these people that have had businesses, who've sold their businesses or retired or whatnot, it's gold. I mean, it really is.
All right, top 3.
I'll give you the top 1. How about that? The number 1, and I hear it the most often, is relationships. The relationships that they have built with other people in their industry have been the single biggest indicator for them to be successful, because you can't do it on your own. You need other people. You need a network of people to help you get there. And networking and building relationships with people has been the number 1 answer that I've received on many occasions. So I was kind of surprised the first time I heard it. And then when I kept hearing it over and over again, I was like, there's something there.
I mean, that I used to preach that to my guys, my sales guys, is we're not selling paint. You're selling yourself and you're creating a relationship. A byproduct of that relationship is them buying paint. But if you focus on selling paint, you'll never do it. If you focus on building a relationship, the paint will come. Maybe not today, but it will. I mean, it's long lasting.
Not only that, like, we have relationships, we have professional relationships with other guys in the industry, and we have our relationships with our clients. And those relationships you form with the clients is also where you get your word of mouth, because you're selling yourself, like you said. And at the end of the day, they appreciate, somebody that they know, like, and trust. And then they're like, hey, this was a really nice person. They really, they did what they said they were going to do. And that helps, build a good relationship with them. And then they're easy to recommend you to someone else because they know you're going to do a good job for them. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true. I mean, that's a great one.
We're friends with a lot of our clients now. I mean, heck, it surprised me, honestly, but we had a tornado warning, back in May, and it actually came down just south of our shop. Thankfully, no damage, but we had to go to storm shelter and everything. And within an hour, I had clients messaging us, hey, are you all okay? Hey, just checking in on you. And I'm like, I haven't worked with you all in over a year or two, and they thought of us. And
that's gotta make you feel good.
Yeah, it does. And I've even messaged them, like clients we worked with in the past. I'll hear something happened or something, and I'll be like, hey, you doing okay? Do you need anything? Like, one of our clients unfortunately passed away. And so I messaged the husband, hey, I'm so sorry for your loss. If you need anything, let us know. you're in our thoughts and prayers. And
I had a customer, something similar to that we'd done work with for years. They'd go out of town and they'd call and say, hey, come do this at the house while we're gone. And her husband, and it was actually when I was in Dallas and I sold my business, and her husband passed away of Alzheimer's. You know, he had gotten really bad and he passed away. So it's the relationship side. You know, once you start learning about and really embrace the transformative relationship versus transactional, you give me something, I give you something. Like, we're all trading. Sent flowers to the house. You know, sorry to hear about your loss, in our prayers. She called me, still had my phone number, sold my business over 2 years ago. And she's just like, I can't believe you sent me flowers. And I'm like, I've probably been in your house as much as I've been in any cousins of mine houses. Like, your family, you know, but even at that, she called me probably 6 months later and said, hey, I know you're not in the business anymore, but I need XYZ done. Do you have anybody you can give me their contact information for? So got some stuff. But I mean, that's the thing about progressing into the transformative relationship. You know, you're always growing and nurturing those relationships. Doesn't matter if you're doing that anymore, because you never know when you might need something one day and they hear about it and they're willing to help. It's huge.
yeah. And I mean, even building relationships in the industry has helped us a lot. That's one thing we've been working on over the years, especially here locally. And, like last year, or it was earlier this year, actually, Sherwin-Williams rep, she was like, what can I do to help you out? And cause she knows I don't buy paint from them very often. And she's like, what can I do to help you? And I was like, I need somebody that can paint walls that I can refer business to, cause I don't want to paint walls. And 45 minutes later, I'm getting a call from a guy and he's like, hey, I hate painting cabinets. What can we do? And I was like, sweet.
That's it.
And then a client of ours, she got us in touch with a guy that does backsplashes and tile, and he has dustless tile removal. And she got us in touch with him, and now he's my number one referral out. People will be like, oh, I want a new backsplash. I got a guy. I know a guy. And he got me in touch with the countertop company that we're working with now. And the core values we've all got meet up, and our clients absolutely love it because they know that we're going to come in. We treat them with respect. We treat their houses with respect. And our clients are just ecstatic over it. But I wouldn't have met these people if I hadn't got these relationships.
Yeah. Sounds like you're getting inching closer and closer to that full service remodeling side.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get some things set up. I can project manage now for stuff. We did one in Choctaw earlier this year. We had wall and trim painting done, electrical, plumbing, countertops, backsplash. And we had everything done in under a month, and the clients were just ecstatic. They loved it.
Yeah, they had told us that they had done 5 house remodels, and that one was the single smoothest one they'd ever done and the quickest.
That's an awesome referral right there. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, I mean, you're on your way. You're going to be doing the whole house pretty soon. Be GC, and it's a fun one. I did some of those projects.
Yeah.
When you transition into that, I mean, I didn't think I was going to like it, but it was actually kind of fun seeing the whole thing from not just go in to paint and then leave. You never really get to see it all done. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think the big thing too is that we've had this conversation a couple of times, and one of the things is that even as we get into that, we still want the core focus of our business and our specialty is always going to be cabinets, right? Like, that's still our passion and what we really love doing. And so I think no matter what, we're not going to totally ever give up that part of it, so.
No, there's no need to. I mean, you can do both. I mean, you're the sprayer and then she runs the job. You're good to go.
She tells me what to do. It works.
That's how it always works, Jeremy.
Yeah, we'll get clients every once in a while. They'll be like, so how do you all work together? And we're like, with a good sense of humor.
On her side. I tap dance on her last nerve.
You're just like, so you're tired of hearing from me? Let me just try one more time. I'm going to pester the crap out of you. What have you guys like? So when it comes to, I know we're getting in there. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I know you're in the shop. It's too dang hot to be sitting out there. Advice. Like, I mean, you guys are 2019. So, I mean, you guys are through the hump, let's call it 2020, 3-year hump's over. I mean, that's usually the hardest part in any business is to make it the first 3 years. We all know that as entrepreneurs. Like, what advice would you give to the new guy starting out there and painting in particular or finishing? What advice and what strategies would you recommend to new guys starting out there to get past that hump, to get to that point where you guys are?
I think the biggest advice I can say is, well, knowing your numbers is always important. We've been job costing. We track our numbers. We track what these things are costing us. And I mean, I can go down the line and I can tell you, well, we spent this much on this and we spent this much on paint. We spent this much on tape and whatnot. Any classes you can take though, that you can get a hold of. Here in Oklahoma, for instance, we've got REI, which does women-owned business stuff. They actually helped me get our loan for our Green Fast Cure last year, but they offer classes for women and even help you with certifications and things like that. And it's all free. Sometimes you might have to pay a little bit here and there just for some things to be taken care of, but for the most part, it's all free. Then you've got SCORE, which is through the Small Business Administration, and you can get a mentor for free. They've got classes for free. And if you don't know how to do something, find the class for it. And then if you don't have any of that stuff, then as Small Business Development Center, we've got a mentor through there right now. And so I meet her once a month and just hash out our business and talk to her about, here's what's going on. And if I can't figure out where to find something, she usually has a resource that can get it for me. And there's classes through there too. And so I've taken so many classes over the past several years on marketing and business management and all of these things pertaining to the business. And every single one of them's been free. And so take advantage of those things to be able to run your business properly and not just be some schmuck in a truck.
And then not only classes for the business side of things, but classes for the finishing side as well. We've traveled all over the country to take classes on finishing. We even went to California, spent an entire week with Dennis Rodriguez, working with him, working a job site with him, seeing how everything's done, how he likes to finish. We've gone up to Minnesota, Pennsylvania. Where else?
We went to Houston earlier this year.
We just fly all over the country, taking classes on finishing, and because there's so many great finishers in the country that you can learn from, and every one of them's got something different that you can use, little tidbits here and there. And sometimes it might, 90% of it might be familiar to you, and then you're going to pick up another 5 or 10% of something that, another little nugget that you can just take back with you. And then a situation will come up a year and a half from now that, I know exactly what to do here because I've dealt with this before,
Yeah, that's good. Didn't you guys do one with Nick? Did you guys go to Slavic still?
Yes, we went to Nick Slavic's retreat a couple of times.
Yeah, we've done the summer retreats up in Minnesota twice now, and
we're not going to the winter retreat.
No, we won't do the winter retreat.
But I would be all over that one.
The summer one's really nice.
Summer ones
are
gorgeous
up there.
But I mean, gosh, we sat there for a week just hashing it out with other business owners that have been in it longer than us and make millions of multi-million-dollar businesses, and we're just hashing things out about our business with them, and it's eye-opening.
And humbling sometimes too. You'll hear things you don't want to hear. But sometimes it's important that you hear those things that you don't want to hear.
Yeah. I mean, with entrepreneurship and business ownership, the good comes with the bad. You're going to have, you're going to have good, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. You got to figure out how to ride them out. And guys that have done that, that's just a great source of information to have.
Absolutely.
Our biggest thing over, and this is why we were chosen to be moderators in these groups and stuff, is because we've always felt like if we're going to get this information, then we should help others too. If we were lucky enough to get it, then why keep it to ourselves? Help others. And so we've worked hard over the years to at least pay it forward for all those people that have helped us. And we've helped other businesses figure out things and at least get them off the ground and going. Or if they're having issues troubleshooting, they know they can call Jeremy and he'll walk them through it and figure it out.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell them, hey, I don't know, but I know somebody who does know or might know, and I can point them in the right direction. And that's sometimes knowing where to find the answer is just as important as knowing the answer. So.
Yeah.
100%. I would say, how many FaceTimes have you been on with Dennis?
Denny.
I talked to him this morning, actually.
Yeah.
Like, we talk to him all the time. Denny, Denny's another invaluable source of information.
Rodriguez and I, he did it. Oh man, it's been about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I interviewed, we were talking, did a podcast. We were talking about just sharing the information, get to training. There's so many classes out there. And he was like, man, I want to do more classes to help people, but man, I get on the phone all the time with people. He said, I think he'd mentioned, he was like, I think yesterday I was on FaceTime. Jeremy called me, said he had a weird issue. I said, all right, jump on FaceTime, show it to me. Let's see what it looks like. See if we can figure it out, what's going on.
We haven't had a chance to fully announce it yet, but we're actually going to be hosting a class in October for finishing, and we're going to have Dennis come out and some other people come out too. We're trying to get everybody lined up. So
congrats. That's awesome. In October, you said?
October 11th, I believe, and 12th.
11th and 12th. Awesome. Well, that's good. Definitely. We'll get those dates to me when you guys get something like flyer type deal written out, and I'll shoot it out and let everybody know you guys are going, because training is it. Training is what we need more in this business. There's not enough of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, yeah, we're going to be hosting a class. That doesn't mean that I'm not still going to go to classes every time I get the chance either. Honestly, we were just, when was it? We were down in Houston.
Back in April, we were in Houston.
Back in April, we just went to a class, It's like there was a class on staining and toning. We'd already been to one before, but it was like, you know what? We want a refresher, because you never know when you're going to pick up other little tidbits. So,
well, there's different systems. You've got Renner's system. You've got now Viralac, Stefan's system, that he's just kind of. Did you guys go to that one with Denny?
We did not do the one this year with Denny. We did one a year or two ago for Viralac, though, for their stain system.
Yeah, that new stain system that Stefan has developed is pretty flipping awesome.
Yeah, we figured we wanted to go see Denny, but we were like, we can drive to Houston at least, so.
That's good, though. Hey, any training is good training. Yeah, I haven't talked to Lewis. Was supposed to come on, and he had to reschedule.
Well, yeah, he's out still without power, I think, down there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the last conversation, he's out power, and he still doesn't know when he's going to get it back. But then after all that rain that they got, I think they're just like record heat right now.
Yeah.
So they got all that rain, then it's like 105 and 90% humidity, in case you weren't sweating enough. Let me throw some higher temperatures with all that water that's surrounding everything.
I think we were lucky. It was only like 60 or 65% humidity while we were down there.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't too bad while we were there.
Oh, you're like, yeah, this is nicer than Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was actually.
Oh, so, my favorite question before we wrap up is, I always try to get our community and our listeners to know all of my guests outside of work. We talk about painting the whole show. What's something outside of work about you guys that might surprise the listeners? Something that you do, a habit, a hobby, a passion. I see one coming.
Yeah, she's got it. Go ahead, tell them what yours is.
I get made fun of a lot on this one. I'm always getting razzed by others. But over 20 years now, I've collected Coach purses. And so, yep. Yeah, I have a purse addiction.
Dare I ask how many?
Right now I'm at 17. So, but
she's owned a lot more than that. She buys them and sells them, and
yeah, I do a lot of buying and selling. So, I'm actually getting ready to pick one up today that I'm going to fix up and make pretty, and then I'm going to sell it. So
do you paint them?
no, I don't paint them. I'll clean them up. I'll condition the leather, get the shape back to normal. If there's missing parts, I go find the parts for it and get it all back into one piece. And
that is very interesting. I thought maybe it was like those guys that online you see them painting like the Converse shoes and different stuff. I thought maybe you're like painting designs on Code purses.
No. I do know some ladies that do that. I haven't gotten there yet. Usually though, I'll find ones that I'll be like, oh, I want to carry that for a month or two. And then I'm like, okay, it's time to move on, and I'll sell it. So like, for instance, I bought one last year for $50. It was missing a shoulder strap, found the shoulder strap for $20, and then sold it for $400 a couple months later.
That kind of sounds like me and gun holsters. My wife gets so mad at me. I'm like, I need a new gun holster.
My mom says my grandma got me addicted to purses. She always had a pretty purse. So it's fun for me. I do that and reading and lots of reading, and just we tend to keep to ourselves a lot, except with the community. It's kind of surprising. Everybody's like, oh, you're so talkative. And I'm like, I tend to keep to myself a lot, but okay.
Well, it's like you do it so much, like the same thing. People are like, hey, I'm like, yeah, I do the podcast. I love it. But when it's off, I kind of turn into a hermit. I'm just like, nah, I've talked to people today. I'm done.
So my hobby is me and my son, we build and compete remote control rock crawling trucks.
Rock crawling?
Yes.
Not like the dirt racers, but you're going up stuff.
Crawling, we set up gates that you have to crawl through without hitting them, and climb the trucks through them. And you got like a 6-minute time limit, and there's like 10 gates and 2 bonus gates. And so we go all over the state to do that. And then we've gone, most recently we went to the Colorado State Championships. We drove up there for that. My son got 5th and I got 7th. Yes, my 15-year-old beat me, but he's good. So, yeah, and that's my big hobby is I spend a lot of time building our trucks and adjusting them and tuning them, and then going to compete with them. So, and we do that almost every weekend locally.
Are they gas or electric?
Electric.
Electric? Okay. My son and I got, I don't know, he wanted to take guitar lessons and ended up being right next to like a hobby town or something like that. And he wanted to go in there and look at it, and I was blown away. Like the RC cars, the rock crawlers, they had a track in there. Like that's a serious.
The hobby town up in Tulsa or in down Dallas?
It was down in Waco. I think it was a hobby town. I think it was something like that. There was a version of that, but there's a guy in there that I'll have to take some pictures next time because my son wants to go try it. One, he was telling me they got cars that go like over 80 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have one of those, actually.
What? That's insane. And then this guy they do a truck show in Waco. And there's a guy there, and that's what he builds is fully RC 18-wheelers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've seen some of those before where they're like 1/3 scale or something.
Yeah, this one had like ones with gas tanks, ones with Amazon painted on the side. He had another one with a flatbed, looked like it was carrying a wing to one of those, wind turbine things generating electricity. And he said they're all fully operational, and they do monthly truck shows where everybody that builds these things comes out and they set them up.
We'll be going to Disney, Oklahoma next month for a competition. Jeremy actually built me a RC car earlier this year, and so I'm going to go fail miserably at that. So
Disney will be fun. Disney's always fun. I love going to Disney. Never done it with remote rock climbing.
Last year he was like, hey, they do a competition in Disney. You want to do it? And I'm like, Disney World, Disneyland? And he goes, no, Disney, Oklahoma. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
We actually took we did a picture right in front of the sign for there, and then with them all looking sad, and she had her little Minnie Mouse ears on. just to stage it for the funnies, you know.
I even had Ethan.
Disney, it's a surprise.
Ethan was wearing his Slipknot shirt, and he's wearing my sequined Princess Minnie Mouse ears, looking all sad.
That's pretty good. I bet that's a lot of fun. I've been trying to get my son, who's 6, into something like that we can do together.
1/24th scales, the smaller trucks, which is great for smaller kids. The problem is that the screws on those things are so small that it's hard to, and they're easier to break. But the 1/10 scale, I know guys that they have kids that are driving them at 5 and 6 years old, and start learning pretty easily, even for the 1/10 scales. And that's what we compete with most of the time, is the 1/10 scales. So that's the most popular scale for competition and having a good time. So, and even even down in White Settlement area, there's a huge RC park there. So I don't know how far you are from there, but down in Texas, there's
I'll have to look. I don't know where. I know there's. That guy was telling me they have tournaments going on all the time. All my son wants to do, he's turned 7 in 2 weeks, and the only thing that kid wants to do is go hunt. He wants to go. He wants to go to the drive. He wants to go to the gun range, and he wants to go shoot guns.
You got to wait for hunting season, son.
I love you, son, but I do not trust you with any type of weapon in your hands. You do not pay enough attention. I'm not there yet.
My niece is 6, and she got to go hunting at 5, I want to say, for the first time with her dad. And I was like, how did that go? My sister was like, she wouldn't stop talking.
Well, my son keeps talking about, he's 7, he's gonna be 7. He keeps talking about wanting to shoot a deer and go hunting and be Bear Grylls, but the kid picks flowers for his mom. Love him to death. He is the sweetest kid in the world.
Oh, that's too cute.
My 3-year-old daughter might be a wee bit of a savage. She's a little. We were the other day. She was like, somebody picks on her brother, and she is not afraid to lay someone out. Axton, I don't think he could get into a fight, but my 3-year-old daughter will lay someone out that picks on her brother. And then we were in the outside watching TV or doing something outside. We were hanging out, and this just bug just starts, and she screams. And I'm like, Zoe, it's just a bug. And she just runs and just jumps 2 feet and yells, "Dead bug," with this evil look on her face. And I went, oh shit.
I was looking at my Facebook memories the other day, and it was when Ethan was 3 or 4. He's our youngest, and I was like, Ethan and Aiden were fighting, and Ethan got real mad and screamed at Aiden, "I will have my minions attack you." And I'm just like, you have minions?
That's pretty good. I like that. I could see my daughter using that. They went to go see Minions 4. I can only imagine what she's going to come home saying. This is her.
Be prepared.
Her first movie. So it should be also interesting. Her first movie theater movie.
You owe your wife big time. You do.
We shall see. She took my son a couple weeks ago, and he loved it. They went to see the new Inside Out, and she was like, it's a really good movie, but Disney's really getting off track. Their movies really aren't for kids anymore. There was half that stuff. I'm laughing my butt off. My mom's going, and Axton's looking at me going, Mom, why is that funny? It's not important, son. It's not important.
Yeah.
I think next weekend we're going to go see Twisters. They filmed it here in El Reno, so I was like, oh, you think they're going to show our house get destroyed by a tornado?
They have to. I want to see that one. We went and saw Bad Boys 2 when I was in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago for a guys' night. Or no, not 2. 3 or 4, whichever one they're on now.
Yeah, the new one.
Whatever's new.
The new one, yeah. Yeah, and didn't realize how old Will Smith actually got until you watch that movie. You're just like, holy crap. He turned around and got old quick. So anyways, well, hey, thank you guys for coming on. I don't want to keep you too much longer. This has been a lot of fun. We'll have to definitely, let's plan on a follow-up episode after you guys get your training done. Let me know how it goes and how the turnout was. I would love to get on and talk about it. Who was on there. Maybe we'll get Dennis on there as well.
Yeah,
that'd be great. It'd be fun.
last words of wisdom for the community.
If you've got a question, when you go to the Facebook pages, like if you're on Cabinet Refinishers Network or Professional Finishers Development Group or anything, there's a little magnifying glass at the top. Click that and type it in, and usually it will pop up and you will see the answer to that question, and that will solve about 80% of your trouble.
That is actually really great advice. Yeah. And you won't get a bunch of crappy comments saying we've already answered this.
I am a moderator of, I think, about 5 groups now. And yeah, that will fix about 80% of your trouble right there.
Really good idea. Search the groups for the question you already have. Good one. I like that. Jeremy, any last words of wisdom?
She kind of stole it for me. I don't know.
Don't play hopscotch with the unicorn.
Yeah, don't play leapfrog with the unicorn.
Hoorah.
No, in all honesty, I think that trying to be consistent, just be consistent every day with what you're doing. Be consistent and don't give up, because what we do is hard. It's not easy. Be consistent, keep at it, and just keep making things happen, and they will happen.
I like it. Good one. Socials. Yes, I almost forgot. Shout out your socials, all 3, so everybody can go follow you.
We've got Red Tulip Designs on Facebook, Red Tulip Designs on Instagram. We've got TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest. I try to keep everything pretty consistent. Red Tulip Designs. If it's not all together, it's red_tulip_designs. So
yeah, shoot me those, and we will get those down in the description so you guys can make sure you're following them. They've got some really awesome work. If you're an end user in the OK area, give them a shout. They can do amazing refinishing on your cabinets. Again, thank you guys for coming on the Bearded Finisher podcast. We look forward to seeing you guys on another episode, and thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.